Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug podcast. We've moved some things around and we've upped the sex appeal once again. I mean, the only way is up when you've had Carl Wilkinson and Tanvir on the podcast. I'm, of course, the Egyptian Death Machine, the AC, the king of shithousery that is the proprietor, owner and master of Wrestle Plug, Aeron. Next, joining me to discuss this very special weekend of professional wrestling. Of course, we will both be in the house for Clash at the Castle is, of course, the man who hits like a fridge freezer, the man who drinks many a Bacardi Breezer, the consensual panty line teaser that is Ebeneeza, the full-time geezer. Welcome back, mate.
How you doing, brother? You all good?
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. Very much excited about a carload of boys going to Clash at the Castle this weekend. Myself, yourself, and of course, 2/3 of the bromance. Victor Logan couldn't fit in the boot, unfortunately, so it just will be the originals. Can you imagine Logan with his head out of the boot? Like, ooh, we love that boy.
A wrestling bro code.
Before we get into the cards, are you excited, mate? This is the biggest stadium show that WWE has ever had on the UK circuit since SummerSlam 1992.
Yeah, I am thoroughly excited. It's the first time I'm ever getting to see a WWE event. I should have been able to go a few years back, but due to politics and relationships and stuff, I couldn't end up going. So this is much. I'm much looking forward to seeing this, and especially being it with you and the bromance as well. It's going to be a fantastic trip.
Yeah, firm in the front, bromance in the rear. It's going to be quite the occasion. 6 matches right now on tap for the show, which means that theoretically it could be quite a shorter event, although you got to think it's going to go 3, maybe 4 hours. No idea what's going to be on the pre-show or anything like that. Whether Jerry Lawler is going to be touching people up, Booker T.
People.
Yeah. It should be nonetheless an amazing event, and of course this is by far and away the biggest moment for UK wrestling fans since '92, like we've said, and arguably it might surpass that. It won't in terms of ticket sales, however, although 60,000 tickets sold for this event, so it's going to be an absolute screamer. There's still about 5,000 available.
Oh, that's class. That's going to be it's going to be a good event. Obviously, like, it's not going to be as busy as I expected, but even just the day out's going to be fantastic. In Cardiff, there's absolutely loads of shit to do in Cardiff.
There is. Cardiff's a great city, obviously home of the sumptuous Nadia Sapphire. So that's all I need to know. But ultimately, there's a lot of things going on. There's going to be some great shows as well. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take in some of them, but TNT is going to be in the house. Progress are there the next day as well. A few of our boys that we've trained with and worked alongside and traveled with are going to be on that show. Scott Smithson's going to be on that show, which is fantastic. So if you are in Cardiff, if you're watching this and maybe you're warming yourself up, because we're dropping this quite early on the day Saturday, and if you are going to be in Cardiff for the weekend, check out those other shows as well. It's kind of like WrestleMania weekend. So time for a few predictions. I think we're going to start with what could be quite the Titanic tag clash. The legendary return of the SmackDown 6. Edge and Rey Mysterio team together again with Dominic Mysterio at ringside to face the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Damian Priest, with the electrifying Rhea Ripley, no doubt, at ringside to support her Judgment Day brethren. Are you excited about this tag match, and who do you fancy going over in this one?
Yeah, like, Rey Mysterio has always been like my childhood. Like, he was the one that got me into wrestling, so it'll be really good to see him face up. So it'll be and like you say, you got Edge with him as well, which is going to be a great tag team, like an old school kind of thing. Like the nostalgia of it all against two of the very best today. But I reckon old Dominic might turn on his father. He's proper simping over Rhea.
He is, rightfully so, it has to be said. I'm excited about seeing Edge. Believe it or not, I've been to so many former WWE shows, Raw, SmackDown, never seen Edge wrestle. So this is like, he's pretty much the last kind of legend who could wrestle that I get to see. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I'd like to see Edge and Rey Mysterio pick up the victory. I've got to be honest, not really that bothered about Rey Mysterio, just because the Mysterio's run the last couple of years has been a bit boring, very family orientated, very kind of clean cut babyface tag team stuff. Not really much interest to me, although good for them getting a little tag team title run and stuff. I'm with you. I fancy the heels to pick up a win here, especially as they've been battered around quite a bit and they've lost quite a few matches. So them losing again doesn't really benefit them. If they lose this match, then ultimately, why should I care about them going forward?
Yeah, exactly. Judgment Day need that pick to sort of get themselves over as the biggest heels in the company, really, if you think about it. The biggest heel faction, that is, rather.
Yeah, especially with like Finn Balor kind of feels like he's always going to be sort of the middling intercontinental guy. Damian Priest, on the other hand, looks like he has the potential to be a big star in the company, and this might be the first chance for them to build his platform again. They kind of tried it as a face, didn't really work. I actually quite like the look of him, and I think he's going to probably stand out the most in this match. But it should be good, and it's awesome to see Edge in a massive stadium show as well on the UK circuit. That's fucking sick in its own right. One of the matches that I imagine most people are looking forward to and expect will probably be the best wrestling match tonight, Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins.
Oh, that's going to be an absolute banger of a match. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of what's happened or things that's happened in the past, but I've heard there's a little bit of heat behind them both in the past. So it would be nice to see them both sort of battle it out in some sort of like personal way and in an entertaining way. But Seth Rollins, he can't have a match that goes wrong. He's always putting on caliber matches, and Matt Riddle, one of the best people that ever to hit the circuit, from going to real life situations to wrestling. He's absolutely come through the ranks massively.
Weird, isn't it? Like, I've seen Matt Riddle in front of like 500-600 people. I've seen him wrestle at York Hall and stuff like that for Rev Pro and Progress. I've seen him at Riptide in front of a couple of hundred people. Here he is in front of 60,000 people. He spent a lot of time over here plying his trade on the indies, working with Keith Lee as well, and then they obviously hooked up for a little bit as well around the NXT sort of period of things. This looks like a good match. A lot of bad blood going on here. The build-up has very much been a personalised one where Riddle's wife was mentioned and his kids were mentioned on Raw. Rollins is really pushing buttons.
Really wiping them up, yeah. Yeah, because they have like a little tussle in the car park or something.
Yeah, they've really been building it up nicely, and obviously since Vinnie Mac left and Triple H has been head of creative, there definitely feels like there's an edgier tone about all of WWE's programming. So this is like we couldn't ask for better timing from a creative standpoint to have a stadium show in the UK, because we're not going to have a lot of the, shall we say, more commercialized stuff. They feel like they're turning on the wrestling stuff. They're mentioning wrestling again. Riddle's got his name back on TV, you know, guys that actually starting to have proper names and things. So this match should slap. Absolutely. Doesn't matter where you're sat in the stadium. This is going to be an absolute banger. Quite fancy Seth Rollins to win, just because I know he's done the job quite nicely for Cody Rhodes recently. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's lost three very high-profile matches in a row, including WrestleMania. So it wouldn't really make sense for him to lose.
Well, with him losing those matches, he still proves that he's worth a massive bolt in the business. Like you've said to me before, it doesn't matter about wins or losers. It just depends how you portray it, and he's portrayed them losses in a great way. And he deserves the win. Whether he'll get that or not, we won't know. I fancy Seth Rollins winning it myself, though.
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be quite a heel-heavy card because of what the main event might entail.
Yes.
So we will get to that, but I do feel like the heels are going to get a reasonably prominent amount of showing, particularly on the male side of things. The female side of things, a little bit different, however. We got a 6 women's tag team match here. Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Bayley, Dakota Kai and Io Sky. This is the first time that Bayley's new faction of a trio is going to be wrestling all together, I believe. Interesting that Bianca Belair wasn't defending the title, that they've just gone for a 6 women's tag match instead. The other women's title is, of course, on the line. This one, I've got the faces winning. I think that You know, like I don't really know, to be honest. I wouldn't be. Again, it's one of those things. If the heels are going to lose, which wouldn't look great because they haven't wrestled together at all yet, so this is like their first outing. So if they lose, you kind of think, oh, they've already lost a bit of steam in the eyes of people that are watching the program. That being said, Dakota Kai, as much as I adore her, especially, and Io Sky, who are both amazing talents, they feel like they're more capable of taking a loss without taking too much of a hit from a storyline perspective. So maybe they take the pinfall so that Bayley can get out of Dodge.
Yeah. I think for me, if the faces are going to win, then there's going to have to be some sort of beat down at the end or something like that, just to get to grips that they are a good tag team together, that they are going to be one of the next best things in the women's division kind of way. I fancy the heels winning, but like say, if it's going to be a heel heavy card, then the faces should win this, and there should be some shithousery afterwards. Really.
The match that feels like it's been kind of set up. When I saw that they were going to do a stadium show, I all of a sudden wanted to see some of the NXT UK guys, the guys who helped build our indie scene, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, stuff like that. There hasn't been a great deal of that put onto this card, except for what is arguably this match. The IC title, Gunther, obviously formerly known as Walter, will defend the IC title against Sheamus one-on-one in what should be the meaty Hoss portion of the evening. Do we see Walter retain his IC title in front of a big crowd, arguably in front of a somewhat of a hometown crowd? I know that Sheamus is Irish as well, but it could go either way because Walter spent a lot of his time, especially on the indies over here. He was Progress World Champion. He was in Rev Pro for quite a long time. He spent a lot of time here. Then even when he went to NXT, he went to NXT UK so that he could stay in the UK kind of scene. So he's wrestled a lot of guys like Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. He feels like, even though he's Austrian, he feels like a British talent, if you know what I mean. Whereas Sheamus obviously has been in the kind of WWE system for a long time now. We're looking at 10 years or so. However, the big X factor here is the fact that if Sheamus wins, he completes the Grand Slam. The only belt he's never won is the IC title. Do they give it to him as a kind of token gesture to say congratulations and that caps off his career?
It would be nice. Like you say, it would be like the perfect way to do it is to be back on British soil. But then would it be better to do it in America where WWE originated, you know, where he's won everything else? And I fancy Gunther winning it. Is Butch going to be out there, by the way? Or
yeah, apparently Butch and Ridge Holland will be at ringside along with Ludwig Kaiser, formerly known, I believe, as Axel Dieter from WXW many moons back.
See, again, that's going to be like another bittersweet thing because obviously Walter took the belt away from Pete Dunne, so there's going to be a little bit of shithousery going on a little bit there. Personally, I think Walter should retain it and maybe lose it down the line, maybe even at the next one against him. But I think giving it to Sheamus on home soil would be like the icing on the cake for him. But I'll fancy Walter in all truth.
You'd think I'm very curious to see how the crowd's going to react because it's going to be a bit more raucous than your average American crowd because the British fans love it. You know, you got the football thing going on as well. A lot of us are football fans. There's a big crossover between the two. But I'm curious as to whether Sheamus will get that hometown reception or not. You know, is it hometown? Sort of, but he's not from Wales. Obviously, he's not Welsh. I mean, kind of disappointed there are no Welsh wrestlers on it. But
you can swim to Ireland. It's fine.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I thoroughly expect him to swim his way to the. I've got a feeling he's going to win. I just feel like Sheamus is going to win as kind of that thing of like, here you go, cap it off. All the stars have aligned. I just hope they're going to kick the everlasting shit out of each other. I don't want them to go full sports entertainment. I want them to go back to that World of Sport era. Just kick the shit out of each other.
Well, we've seen Walter up close, and he absolutely annihilates everyone that he always wrestles. So it's always going to be a slobber knocker between like him and another hefty guy. And Sheamus is one of the perfect people to do it.
This match is also a great argument. this match is a great argument, isn't it, for watching British Indies as well. Like I saw Volta wrestle Josh Bodum at the cockpit, and it's what 150 people in there. Yeah, and now he's in front of 60,000 people. Same deal with guys like Pete Dunne as well. We've had the pleasure of doing Ring Crew on the same show as Pete Dunne and stuff like that. There's something very cool about the fact that all of these guys that we looked up to or watched alongside when we started training. When we started training, essentially that was the golden era of British independent wrestling. So we had Pete Dunne and Travis Banks and Mike Skill, and guys that maybe people don't want to talk about as much anymore, but they were the spine of what our scene was and what made it so special for that time period. And that's how we got NXT UK. And ultimately, that's another reason why we've got this stadium show, because of the success of our independent scene, which, to be fair, is still very successful now. Almost feels like it's going for a reboot, which is very nice. And it's nice to be involved in it.
I'll pick up my brag from the floor in a minute, but I was lucky enough to wrestle on a show with Pete Dunne. Obviously not wrestle like with him, but I was on the same card as him. I was only in like a rumble with IPW, but yeah, like to be in that vicinity. And we what was it? We also had a training session with Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, and it was a ridiculous session. It was great. They're a great bunch of lads.
Yeah, I must admit, the one thing I'm disappointed by is the fact that I haven't been able to find a bit more room for maybe some of those guys. It would have been nice, even if it was just a token match. Would have been quite cool to have like Mustache Mountain versus, I don't know, the Usos for the tag title. That would have been quite cool. And especially when you think how good the Usos are. Maybe they're trying to hold some of the talent back because, weirdly enough, SmackDown is in America tonight. And then, obviously, Clash of the Castle is tomorrow. The other thing as well, I mentioned this on the State of Wrestling Address, would have been quite cool to have SmackDown and Raw over here as well and have them tie in. Have SmackDown and Raw maybe at the O2 Arena to kind of separate that so that England gets a little bit of time. Maybe have, I don't know, you could have had SmackDown at London, you could have had Raw after the fact in Scotland or even Ireland, which would have been very cool. Have it in Dublin and have Sheamus maybe come out as the brand new IC. There's a lot of things. Maybe we're going to get that later down the line. It doesn't mean we have to get it all in one hit.
But we're lucky enough to have it at one stadium over here to begin with. So to have 3 in one weekend, I think we'd all be pissing our pants too much if that was the case.
Our bank accounts would be, wouldn't they? Let's be honest.
We're severely lucky enough to be at this show in all truth of where we're sitting, how cheap we got it, and everything along them lines.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, it's just being there, being able to say you're a part of it. I don't really buy much merch and stuff when I go to shows, but this is one of those things where if they've got a Clash at the Castle t-shirt that says I was there, I'm probably going to buy that because it's once in a lifetime for a lot of us.
I was here.
Yeah, exactly. I was here, as opposed to the WrestleMania in COVID where they say I wasn't there. So, maybe we could get that for all the guys who aren't coming along with us. We never know. Tanvir apparently might be making a late appearance, which would be quite cool. My boy Brandon Lee's been talking to me today. He said he might potentially grab a last minute ticket. So there's quite a few wrestlers we know going. PJ Jones, Max Carnage, HJ Williams is going. Loads of people going. So if anyone's watching this, come and fucking meet us. Come and have a laugh with the Wrestle Club gang. It'll be a riot. We're going to be going live on Facebook, during our journey, having a giggle, answering questions, and just generally entertaining the masses. There'll be a review, loads of vlogging and stuff like that. So yeah, keep an eye on all our social media channels, our TikTok as well, Wrestle Plug Pod on TikTok if you want to see what we're up to during the day as well, because we'll probably be on that as well. That should be an absolute banger of a match, to be fair. Liv Morgan defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Shayna Baszler. We don't get Ronda Rousey. That was done at SummerSlam. We get the other MMA specialist. We get Shayna Baszler. And obviously the one angle going into this is Liv Morgan has kind of been a bit, not heel turn, but she's been a bit shady in the sense of, she kind of technically beat Ronda, even though she tapped out. She also pinned her at the same time at SummerSlam. Do we see a new SmackDown Women's Champion? Because they've really built a lot of time and money around Liv Morgan recently, which obviously I'm very happy about because she is the dream crush. Does she somehow retain the title against the vicious Shayna Baszler?
Personally, I don't think so. Like you say, where they've put so much time, so much money, so much like rebranding into her, I feel like to then lose it against Shayna, well, after winning against Ronda, to then lose to Shayna, I think it wouldn't be, what's the word? I don't think the story would work out best. I
Wouldn't
think
be as fluid, would it? Wouldn't
no,
make
I think it would be better if she sort of like retained it and then lost it to someone down the line. I fancy EO Sky, in all truth, being a singles competitor, winning it and just be like bringing it to the faction. But yeah, someone like EO Sky or even who is it? The name will come to me later. Dakota Kai, even she would be an absolute banging champion. She's already proved she was a great champion in NXT. Like both of them have got it in them. But personally, I think it's too early for Shayna to win it off, or even Liv Morgan losing it too early. I think.
Yeah, Shayna really should have won it the COVID period when she wrestled Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, and I felt like that was the time they should have struck while the arm was off. Apparently, Vince McMahon wasn't a fan. Shock horror, probably because she's not blonde with giant tits. But you know, the bottom line is, yeah. I mean, the bottom line is, if you've seen Shayna Baszler in NXT, you know that she can legitimately go as one of the best women's wrestlers, and also she's legit being an MMA fighter as well. At one point, she was ranked in the top 10 women's MMA fighters in the world. So this is a woman who can legitimately kick your fucking ass. Really loving her. I don't know if you check her out on social media every week. She does like a breakdown of a wrestling hold, and she has like I think it's like Marina Shafir and Dakota Kai and different women helping her out with it, and she always beats the shit out of them, basically bullies them. I think so. Yeah, no, I actually am looking forward to that match. Big test for Liv Morgan. You know, you've just wrestled the stadium show in SummerSlam. There's about 40,000 there. This is an even bigger step up. You're abroad as well. You're pretty much the only true representation of women's wrestling, because the other thing is a 6 women's tag match. So it's not really a proper exhibition of great women's wrestling, although it will be a good match. This is the only singles match for women, and it's the only title match as well. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how that plays out. Yeah, that looks good, but nothing looks, well, to be honest, quite as good as your main event, does it? I think we've gone through everything else. I do want to check just to be safe. Yeah, so the main event. Roman Reigns defends his WWE Universal Championship against the Zoe and Blue, Drew McIntyre.
I am Blue.
The B-Tech Scott Jones will get his opportunity at the Universal Championship. Yeah, Scott Jones is my number one. Scott Drew.
Hell yeah.
Also, he's still here wrestling. You abandoned us for America. Yeah. What do we think about this? Do we get, so apparently the betting line has Roman still as favourite to retain.
Yeah.
Also, Tyson Fury is allegedly going to be at ringside.
Oh, spicy.
So, and apparently Triple H has been hinting at the fact that he might get physical. So, and obviously we've had a lot of build up between Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre. I quite like the idea that they're going to swerve and Tyson Fury is actually going to knock out Roman Reigns. And because he's one of the few guys who can legit do that, and it doesn't look stupid because he is legitimately a blockbuster heavyweight boxer. And then Drew captures the belt. Do we think that we get the all-time special moment, the first big stadium show in, 30 years? Are we going to get a British, individual, a British wrestler crowned as the Universal Champion by the end of the night?
I reckon we could, but I reckon there's going to be a different way of winning it. You say that he'd knock out Roman. I reckon Drew and Tyson might have a little like bust up in the corner or whatever. Tyson will go towards Roman. Roman will spear him, get him out of the way, and then that's it. Claymore will come into it. Drew wins it, and then that's it. You go head to head for Tyson and Drew for whenever the next one will be, or whatever the next one's going to be. I reckon that like they'll try and build up Tyson to bring him into WWE, because I'm not being funny. Apart from obviously the next boxing fight that he's got against Usyk, he's not really going to be doing much apart from training. So to keep him in the limelight, what better place to do it than WWE?
He's a great talker as well.
Like he's a fantastic talker. Now he is the master of shithousery. Like I want him to come out with his pinstripe suit saying "Dosser" all the way down it, and just like start talking absolute shite to every single one of them.
Yeah, I could see maybe. I don't know if the Usos are even going to come over for this show. If they are, wouldn't surprise me if Fury knocks them out because they're kind of like, you know, I love them. They're my favorite tag team, but they do feel like his lackeys. You know, they're Roman's lackeys, so they're the ones who can take a shit kicking on his behalf. Paul Heyman's going to be at ringside. I can just imagine Paul Heyman and Tyson Fury jaw jacking each other. That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. Just seeing Tyson chase Paul Heyman around the ring and then just see him like duck behind him and do the old Braun Strowman and just shoulder tackle him from the side or something.
Yeah. The apparently Braun Strowman scheduled to appear on Raw this week and make his return as well. So do we think Braun Strowman might interfere, bearing in mind that the last time he was seen, he got buried essentially by Roman Reigns and lost his Universal Championship to him in a three-way with Bray Wyatt as well involved?
Yeah, I think if Braun's got to come back, he's got to come back as a big hitter because, like, we know him coming back on the indie scene and like how much he's worth and the name he's been bringing out of himself. I think if you have to bring him back, you have to bring him back in a massive light. You have to do something big with Braun. And again, like one of my favorite feuds of all time has always been Roman versus Braun because that was just such a legit feud. It was such a great feud. So, no, your mic has gone.
Do we think Bray Wyatt returns?
I would love to see it, but I think there's been a little bit too much. I think there's been too much like horribleness between Bray leaving and shit like that because I think he got buried worse than Braun did. I think if he does come back again, they'll have to build him up, and if they're gonna do something with the Wyatt family, you know, it's one of them. I would like to see Wyatt come back at a different stage. I don't think it would be any good him coming over here to then bring himself out. Braun maybe, but not Wyatt. And again, how many people do you want to bring out for the main event? Because if we've already got Tyson Fury, you can't then bring out one person after another because then it would just end up getting boring.
Yeah, that's true. Like, as much as I want to see Bray Wyatt, and I'm lucky that I've seen him. I never saw him as the Fiend. I saw him as sort of, you know, country boy Bray Wyatt with the Wyatt family and stuff, which is very cool. But yeah, like you say, like it might be a bit of oversaturation throwing him out there as well. You know, Austin Theory obviously floating around with a cash in as well. Do we fancy a cash in?
I do fancy the cash in. But again, it's the same thing. If you've got Tyson on the sidelines, if you've got all these people coming back and things like that, do you want to overcram everything in the main event? I know it's all right having shock after shock, but if you're going to have maybe a face-off between Drew and Tyson, or maybe Roman will start a feud with Tyson, that's if Tyson does end up being out on the sidelines, but you don't want to then ruin it for him also because he's now such a big name. You don't want to overcompensate things.
Yeah, like you say, overcompensation, oversaturation as well. So, and also, if you spunk all of that, what are you going to do with your next big shows? You've got WrestleMania, you know, that'll be about 5-6 months away. You know, on top of obviously Survivor Series is probably going to be a thing. You got the Royal Rumble as well. Like, you know, a couple of these guys could return at the Rumble and make a big deal out of that as well. So Bray Wyatt in the Rumble, for instance, would be very sick if he came out and started destroying everybody as the Fiend and eliminating 10 people before he got, I don't know, kicked in the face by someone like Volta or something big like that. So, you know, there's plenty of opportunity. Do you think Drew wins the belt? Do you think the big one is on the horizon here?
Yeah, I think I think it's one of them. If Sheamus wins it, Drew doesn't. If Drew wins it, Sheamus doesn't. You know,
So one of those is like kind of like the big hometown sort of hero, sort of,
yeah,
even
yeah.
though Sheamus is a heel, but people will probably receive him quite well.
Yeah, exactly. Like even if he is a heel, there's still going to be a big pop if he does win because it's going to be on hometown soil. So,
Yeah.
well, Drew's going to get a big pop anyway. But I think if you put two of the big belts on both Brits in it, like at the time, I think it would be a little bit dead in the water. It would be much better if you do one and not the other.
Yeah,
from a story standpoint.
I think as well, if Drew doesn't win, it kind of hurts the potential. Like it won't hurt it. Like they'll still sell out big time if they have more shows, if they start doing regular stadium shows. But this is the first time in 30 years. And of course, the last one, the main event was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the IC title. Bulldog won on home soil. Huge event, still arguably the greatest moment in British wrestling history. For a guy to win in the main event of a huge pay-per-view, the second biggest pay-per-view that WWE has. So if you're going to have Clash at the Castle, if you're going to say, hey, this is, our big return to the UK, this is your biggest ever show in terms of storylines, one of the biggest moments of all time, other than that 92 SummerSlam, you kind of have to give the fans something really special to go home with. So Drew not winning, the only way it would make sense is maybe, I don't know, like you say, Tyson Fury interrupting is quite a big deal. You got to think Tyson Fury is going to be quite over with the crowd, just because he's an icon, isn't he? Whether you like him or hate him, he's one of those guys. One guy that I would like to see from a fantasy standpoint is Conor McGregor, who has sort of dabbled with the idea of arguing with people. I've got this, maybe him costing Sheamus the IC title by being a prick at ringside would be quite funny, or attacking him from behind while the referee's down with all the confusion.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was there watching as the fans and what have you, and maybe Sheamus will go out and like shush his face or something just to take the piss.
Yeah, Conor maybe gives him a cheap shot behind the ref's back. Maybe that's what gives Volta the opportunity to get one over on him, but that's obviously overbooking. That's fantasy booking. One of my dream matches is Finn Balor versus Conor McGregor, just because for the longest time I found Finn Balor to be quite boring. Amazing worker, never really enjoyed his character work that much. Always felt he was a bit dull on the microphone. Balor's one of those guys that you think would be AEW world champion, never mind WWE champion. He seems to fit that bill better, but he's, to his credit, he had an amazing run in NXT again, wrestling guys like Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne. There's really good work there from Finn Balor, but he's in that Judgment Day thing, which, let's be honest, since they removed Edge, hasn't worked out that well for them, at least not from a storyline perspective. So hopefully this is going to kickstart things and build us nicely to the next major pay-per-views.
I think the only way it would take an edge out of it, the only thing for me that would save them is to make Finn Balor the Demon King again, because everyone loses their absolute marbles when he comes out, and he plays the character so very well.
Think we might get Demon Finn?
No, I don't reckon we will for this one, because it's a tag match. If it was singles, maybe, but if it was a tag match, and not only that, usually if he's going to do a Demon King, it would be for like high caliber matches, like a Universal Championship and shit like that. But to do it in a tag match against two old school legends, I don't think it would work. But it would make a lot more sense, because then there's people like Rhea and Damian Priest will have someone to look up to. You got the Demon King, you've got the biggest man, with the biggest satanic inside him to look up to. As some sort of cult, he is the god, he is the leader. But to do it in the tag, I don't think it will work. Everyone will lose their marbles when he comes out, and then it would just die during the actual thing, because no one wants to see the Demon King on the side.
Yeah, and the last time he was against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship last year, and I don't know if anyone remembers, they had the weird conspiracy thing where the rope broke when he was up top for the coup de grace, and that cost him the match ultimately. He did this weird thing where his music went boop, and he went full Mario and went boop, 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 and just fucking leveled up again and got up out of nowhere. Very strange. Very strange. And yeah, but that's Vinnie Mac in a nutshell. So But with Triple H, at the helm of creative, with Stephanie being the CEO, with different people in place now, it feels like WWE is moving in a really cool direction, and what a perfect time to do it. What are you most looking forward to, mate, as we wrap it up?
Do you know what? The one I'm most looking forward to is Shayna versus Liv. I'm not like the biggest fan of women's wrestling, but they're over the years of actually watching it by eye. Women's wrestling has got so much better. Like the talent has got like incredible. The standards are unbelievable in women's wrestling at the moment, and I have started to really enjoy watching it. And I quite enjoy some of the feuds that I got. One of my favourite ones has always been Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks. That feud is absolutely insane, and I think Liv could do the exact same if she wanted to. If she wanted to feud with someone of high caliber, she can absolutely do that. A 2-year long feud, no shadow of a doubt. She is a high profile, which I think can absolutely go places, and she can put her stamp on the company.
Yeah, I think I'm very much looking forward to Volta versus Sheamus, because I want it to be that meaty horse collision to end all meaty horse collisions. I want to see two grown men slap the everlasting shit out of each other for 20 minutes. And I must admit, I am looking forward to the main event. How can you not? I'm very excited to see Roman Reigns for the first time in his current iteration of heel. I've never had the chance to see it live, so I'm very excited about that. And Roman Reigns feels like a big attraction now. He's not somebody who's regularly on UK soil. He's not regularly on WWE TV as much, even though he'll come out, maybe cut a promo and stuff. Getting to see him wrestle and getting him to see a wrestle a big main event is actually quite a big deal for anyone on any soil, never mind British soil, much less. So everything just feels like a big deal. And hopefully having the amazing company of the Geeza, having the amazing company of the Bromance, that's where it really is. It's that idea of being able to share it with the people you love, being able to see thousands upon thousands of people all there for one reason, to watch a load of men in their pants beat each other up. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. What a better way to enjoy your Saturday than watching sweaty men in their pants, fighting over a plastic strap.
And the great thing is, it's not on, I think it might be still on the WWE network, particularly in America, but over here, it's actually on BT Sport. So if you've got BT Sport, it's not even on a box office. It's actually on BT Sport's normal sports channels. So you can actually watch it if you've got the BT app. And I think it's only about £15, £20 a month. So if anyone wants to get that, you get loads of Premier League football and all that stuff, but you get to actually watch it on TV, which is very cool. So if you've got the BT package on Sky or whatever it might be, you can record it or whatever and watch it back. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, it starts at 7, doesn't it? Is it 7 o'clock, 7:30?
I believe so. 7 o'clock. I believe
the pre-show starts at 5:30.
Yeah, so that'll mean the show will probably start about 7, 7:30, and then I think the reason they kept it to 6 matches is so it doesn't go crazy over the time. Because obviously in the UK we have that kind of curfew time, don't we? Noise curfew of about 11 o'clock with most major venues and stadiums. So they'll want to be wrapped up and out well before that, I imagine, and especially with the sheer amount of movement and effort.
Yeah, the noise level is going to be ridiculous. And like you say, with it being 60,000 people screaming to the top of their lungs, that place is going to be absolutely rocking. You'll probably hear it from Swansea. Probably.
It's only an hour's drive. You never know. You'll definitely hear it from Newport because they ain't got anything better to do because it's a shithole. As a Lincoln fan who's gone to Newport County quite a few times, go fight yourselves. But other than that, Wales is wonderful. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm actually kind of chuffed that it's in Wales. I would have liked to have seen it at Wembley. The kind of, it was the
dream.
Anniversary a couple of days ago of SummerSlam '92, but bottom line is I feel like Wales has got the stadium for it. They've got the city for it. And not everything needs to be in London, and it's not that mental a drive for us, not compared to maybe, if it was in Glasgow, for instance. Jesus Christ, flights are plenty. So I think it's going to be a fucking banging weekend of professional wrestling. And like I've said, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the vicinity and you're staying there the whole weekend, check out Progress, check out TNT. They're going to have shows there. Tate Mayfair's is going to be in the house. I believe he's wrestling. G Money actually on the Sunday.
Banger.
Exactly.
That
Scott
is a
Smith's into the
banger.
Fatal 4-Way as well, which should be fantastic. Sunshine Machine are going to be in the house. Mike Bird's going to be on that card, and he's Welsh as well. So how sick
My
is yeah?
man.
He's been brought in as the replacement, I believe, for Dean Allmark. So you know, which is very, very fucking cool. So Mike Bird, who obviously very close to home for you, somebody who helped train you, and also being obviously the Welsh Dragon himself, like, you know, very cool that Mike Bird, who has done so much for our British scene, gets to wrestle a really prominent high-end wrestling show that weekend. So check it out. It's going to be a good one. Any final thoughts, mate?
Just like, if anyone's in the vicinity, come and say hello to us. Come and say hello to the Wrestle Plug gang, the firm in the bromance. We're going to be in the house. We're going to be getting up to some shithousery. Just enjoy yourselves as much as we are, and watch all of our little watch-alongs that's going to be coming up on the day. With like me and you, we're going to start doing our own watch-alongs, and there's going to be a fair few more podcasts on the agenda as well. But as for the weekend, come in and enjoy the fun with us.
Yeah, if you're watching this, don't hesitate to contact us at WrestlePlug. Shoot us a message. I'll have my phone on me. We'll be replying all day. I think we'll have Tanvir on Twitter. If he doesn't go to the show, he'll be live tweeting the show as well. So don't hesitate. Don't be afraid to interact with us wherever you're on social media. There's going to be a lot of content. I'm going to be working like a freight train, but also enjoying it as well, because as everyone knows, I put in so much bloody work. So it'd be nice to actually enjoy some wrestling and not have to, you know, panic about camera setups and things like that. That's very cool. But you know, like our boy Ebeneeza says, loads of content coming, new fresh watch alongs with new talent, fresh interviews as well. The ACW boys are all coming on the podcast over the next few weeks, which is very exciting. Also Nadia Sapphire is returning to the podcast, which is very exciting. Shout out to Nadia Sapphire as well. Obviously, not only the you know, the People's Princess of Wales, but also currently working for WWE this weekend, interviewing their talent, working backstage for anyone who's got her on social media. And
Nice.
obviously you should do, because my lord. But it's one of those things where it's really cool to see that it's not just about WWE being in the house. Progress are doing well. TNT are doing well. Our friends are doing well. Mike Bird's going to be there. Nadia Sapphire is going to be there. You know, loads of our friends are going to be there with tickets. Max Carnage is going to be in the house. HJ Williams. We've got, obviously, the bromance. PJ Jones, the absolute legend from Cornwall and Reach Wrestling, is going to be there. Loads of amazing talents. Loads of incredible people. Pretty much a who's who of British independent wrestling, which is very awesome. So come and say hello. We're going to be in the house, and we'll obviously let you know when we hit the ground running and when we arrive in Cardiff. And if we find a nice little setup, or we're in a tent or a bar or whatever it might be, we'll make sure that you guys know where we're at. Please come along and say hello. It'd be fantastic. Get some selfies with the gang. Don't worry about the bombastic nature or what you might have heard about WrestlePlug. Yes, we are honest. Yes, we are brutal at times, but we're also a friendly bunch of boys. We have a good time with people, and we're very much about putting smiles on people's faces. So hopefully you've enjoyed the pre-show. If you want to check out what Ebeneeza the Geeza is up to, I highly recommend you do so. He's got very different social media accounts because he's annoying like that, but it's Ebeneeza on Facebook, all one word. It's Ebeneeza with a full stop in between every letter if you want to chat to him on Instagram, and on Twitter I believe it's at FTG Ebeneeza.
That's the one.
There you go. See, someone's got to pay attention to this stuff. And of course, I'm at Aeron Design across all social media. So if you want to send me more hate mail, please do so. Thanks for telling me that I run a Mark podcast. Cheers for that, fat boy. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy Cardiff. If you're watching it at home, don't hesitate to tweet us. Have a good time. Shout out to Lee as well, who's been commenting quite a bit and sending me messages on social media, who follows us on YouTube. Big fan of his, Huddersfield boy, but also a West Ham fan, I believe, which is very straight. He lives in Huddersfield and supports West Ham. Yeah, you bloody Irons fans, honestly. Alex Kent, by the way, big Irons fan. So there you go. There's plenty of them. Unfortunately, you also support Newcastle, so less said about that, the better.
Up the teams!
How many bloody teams? And I thought I support a lot of people, honestly. But yeah, check out Ebeneeza. Check out myself if you do so wish to be inclined. But just remember, whatever abuse you throw at me, you will get back tenfold. But from myself and, of course, the legendary full-time geezer that is Ebeneeza, we'll catch you very soon for more content from the WrestlePlug.
Peace out, butt pluggers.
Much love.